A Karen irresponsibly pushes her non-swimming son into the deepest pool, nearly causing him to drown. When I save him and confront her, she dismisses her actions, demands I get fired, and shows no concern for her child's well-being. Here's what happened next. I used to be a swimming teacher, got the job very young by accident because I've always been the sport type. Next to my house there is a very famous Olympic pool, in which they teach swimming and train Olympic swimmers from a very young age. So I went there with no expectations at all, and the next thing I knew I was working at 15. Needless to say I was the youngest there, and if it wasn't for the shirt that literally said that I was a trainer, no one would have ever noticed me there. My job there was to take care of and teach babies how to swim, from age 3 to 5, about 20 kids per class, from Thursday to Friday, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So the kids and the parents knew who I was when the class was over, and the rules about the pool, which included two very important things that I reminded the kids every single day. Do not go near the pool if your teacher isn't around. Do not go into the pool if you don't have a floppy. I don't really know what they're called. We just called it that way for years for some reason. But it was those pool noodles that were old enough to be bent, and we tied them around the children's chest, so it basically worked as a lifesaver. Also, you need to know that we have 3 pools, each one deeper than the others. My class took place in the medium deep one, and the kids weren't allowed another pool that wasn't the one where they had class. The parents also knew this. So here's the story. As a babies teacher, or actually any kid below 12 years old teacher, we weren't allowed to leave the kids alone or send them away if their parents weren't there. This resulted in us waiting an extra 15 to 20 minutes for parents after our shift was done, which wasn't really that bad. And when we had to wait more than that, the parents had already called and we just changed our clothes, the kids' clothes, and waited with the kid outside. In this story, this was not the case. I still had a 4-year-old boy under my care. It was 40 minutes past my shift. We were both wet, cold, and tired because we couldn't sit anywhere. I ended up wrapping the boy in a towel another parent gave me because the kid was trembling so much, and I actually held the boy in my arms when he couldn't bear it anymore. I swear that kid was about to faint from the cold, and I was already mentally preparing my first aid skills and a no-shame barrier to run to the nearest hospital in my swimsuit. 50 minutes, an hour. It was getting darker, and the cold air began to strike us. Finally, the mother appears. Doesn't even look at her child. Doesn't even look at me. Says, "Let's go," and starts to walk away as I'm holding his barely alive son in my arms, not even looking back to see if he's following. I had to take the other towel away since it wasn't his, and I clearly didn't trust his mother. I planned to return it myself the next day. Put the kid down, said goodbye, watch him walk a few steps, and turn around to rush to the lockers because now I was freezing cold. I was furious, but couldn't do or say anything. I guess the mother had told my bosses that maybe she had an emergency of some sort, and was still sorting it through the phone. I got to the locker, fully changed into clothes that weren't pool-like, went from swimsuit and Crocs to jeans, hoodie, socks, and Converse, chilled in the locker room for another 20 minutes browsing WhatsApp groups, packed my stuff in my backpack and walked outside, closing behind me since I was obviously the last one. At this point, it was around 7:20 p.m., there was barely sunlight, and it was time for Olympic swimmers to train, and they really don't care for anything that's happening around them. So I just start walking my way out of the pool area, ignoring almost everything around me. For clarification, the pool area is for swimmers and teachers/trainers only, no parents nor unsupervised children. This also means that if they don't have class, they can't be there. Allowed. It's close to the public, and the only way you can watch what's going on inside is by walking away from the building, going up some faraway stairs to get to the seats area, where parents normally wait and watch the swimming class. The closest you can get to the pool in this area is by reaching into a sort of balcony with metal barriers, and they still are about 8 meters higher than the actual ground level where the pool is. I heard screams. It's hard to notice them at first because there's so much noise around between the water, the chit-chats, and the trainers screaming, but the screams get louder, and as I'm awkwardly passing by the deepest pool there is, I notice the same mother from before, kneeling in front of the water, holding her cell phone with one hand and just kind of flopping her other hand into the water. I follow her gaze and immediately drop my backpack and dive into the pool, where her kid is almost 10 feet down into the water. This boy didn't drown because of me. People were screaming because they noticed this from the seats area. Someone had rushed to my boss's office and they had called the pool paramedic. Other people were still trying to get someone's attention so they could help, and my 3 bosses, one of my coworkers, another trainer, and the paramedic, showed up at the exact moment I'm getting this boy out of the pool and starting CPR to get the water out of his lungs. The mother just awkwardly stands there, lurks to the back of everything in silence, and stands there. The kid is okay, they are wrapping him in towels and telling him everything's okay. People is still wondering what happened and asking around. I take a moment to process everything and I notice the mom in the back staring at her phone. I snap. Cue the drama. The dialogue wasn't exactly like this since this happened about 3 years ago, but I still remember some of it. I'm totally drenched in water as a totally angry teenager. What the fuck? Why was your not able to swim son in the deepest pool we have, unsupervised? He was not unsupervised. I was watching him. He almost drowned. Yeah, well that's not my fault. I pay the school to teach him how to swim, and I just wanted to record him swimming to show his daddy. He does it very well, do you want to see? She then shows me her phone, with an actual recording of she telling her son to go into the water to show daddy how you look like a fish in the water. The boy repeating the exact words I told them every day about not going into the water without a floppy or a teacher nearby. The EM telling him it's okay because she's there. The boy saying he's scared and then the mother literally pushing this kid. Record him struggling for a while, awing as how he was able to hardly float around for some minutes, and when he gets tired of moving his little arm and legs around to keep his head out of the water and trying to get to the edge, his mother pushes him away of the edge and he immediately sinks, and the video still lasts about 20 more seconds where the mother is just filming the kid sinking and she just saying stuff like, "Look at me, daddy," just like a little shark. I noticed he wasn't coming up, so I tried to grab his hand, but he was way down. Thank God you appeared at the right time. I was just shocked at what she said. She then tells me, I should probably start swimming classes too since I do not know how to swim. Do you know a good school? I give her a death stare. At this point, I'm done with this woman. Do you even care about your son? This is the second time he's almost died under your supervision when you showed up an hour late after class was over and didn't even apologize to me nor explained why you're late. I would really appreciate if his dad came for him after class because I swear I will never let this child go home with you. I paused to breathe. I realized something. Why do you even push him in the water? He's 4. You know he doesn't swim nor float, or at least you'd known if you had a minimum interest in his life. What the fuck? What the fuck? She whines. What do you mean? You are way too young to talk to me that way, you little brat. My son is my problem and not yours. I don't owe you anything. You don't have the right or the power to prevent me from doing whatever I want with my son. And I couldn't jump in because I'd get my clothes wet and I have to drive home. Also, I had my cell phone in my hands. I mutter a quiet "fuck you" and I walk away. I don't know what happened next to the Karen. I approached the kid again to say goodbye and to check if he was all right, grabbed my backpack. My boss jumped in to take care of the situation, and I started my 15-minute-long walk back to my house. Although by the time I got home, I'm sure most of the water had evaporated from the way I was fuming. My boss filled me in the next day and said the mother was actually at the seat area by the time class was over, and she got distracted with her phone the whole hour it took her to notice class was over and that she had to pick up the kid. That she complained that I had screamed at her, and after finding out I was the actual swimming teacher, she demanded I got fired. I was not. I actually got a raise. She threatened to sue the school because they had babies taking care of babies, and when confronted with the rule book about her breaking the rules and that she would be in trouble, not sure how law applies to that in my country, for being in the pool area out of hours and nearly drowning her own son, she immediately erased the video, said we had no proof, screamed some more at my boss, and walked away dragging her son with her. The kid never showed up to class again. Years later, and I'm still salty about this whole situation, coworkers told me that there was more to the story, but the bosses refused to say anything about what happened next with the mother. I did get a warning for how I talk to parents, but it was kinda like, just don't scream what the fuck at them. And I wasn't in any real problem since I didn't have my uniform on, so in the eyes of witnesses I was just a kid swearing at an entitled woman. OP left an edit. A lifeguard pointed out that I could have not had performed CPR, and they are right, I didn't perform CPR, but I wanted to clarify in the post that I'm not a native English speaker, and I lack the knowledge of the correct term for what I did. I just wrote CPR so people could understand and assume what happened more easily. But just in case anyone ever experiences this, if you save a person who is drowned and they probably have water in their lungs, do not perform CPR. First check if they're breathing. I mean, OP here is just a teenager, yet handled this situation like a true hero. This Karen, though, wow, she's one for the books. First, she shows up an hour late, leaving poor OP and her shivering kiddo waiting. That's bad, but then, get this, she literally pushes her non-swimming son into the deepest pool, just to record him for daddy. And the cherry on top? She's more worried about her phone getting wet than her son drowning. I'm floored, guys. Truly floored. What do you all think about this wild situation? Alright guys, Buckle up because this next story is a bit of a wild ride. So there's this racist Karen who wants another parent's child because her own kid is black. She loses it and starts throwing a fit after getting denied. She even tries kidnapping the poor child. Yeah, so here's what happened. So a few years ago, I was a student studying in childcare. Now as a part of my course, I am meant to 1 day a week work in a private nursery. For people who don't know what a nursery is, it's basically preschool for experience. So whilst I was there for a year, I became very close with the staff members and the children that was there. During the summer, a new child was enrolled into the nursery. The little girl, we will call her Mary, because her favorite song was Mary Has a Little Lamb. Now Mary is an adorable little girl who likes to jump around and give everyone hugs and kisses. A ball of fluff is what she is. Mary is a bit slightly chubby for a 3-year-old, but that's okay. No problem with a little bit of chub. But her mom thought otherwise. Her mom, whom we'll name Karen, is this tall white lady whom is American who moved to our country last year. Mary didn't look anything like Karen. Mary is a black child, but that isn't a problem to us since everyone's families comes in different sizes and shapes, but I had to point this out since it'll become important later. Karen was well known in the nursery for well looking like a, excuse my choice of words, a hoe, and for her lovely personality. She would show up with a flush red face, a tight, slim, skinny dress that shows of either her cleavage or ass, and caked in excessive amount of makeup. A lot of us thought she was always tipsy whenever she came to do Pick Up Mary, but since she always goes around in a Uber, that's right, even if it's somewhere down her road she'll call for an Uber, so luckily she isn't drunk driving. Now, this isn't a big deal since we're used to people like her until the summer trip starts coming around the corner. It was a trip to a big theme park in my country. Everyone was buzzed, especially the staff members, since this is basically a free trip for them since the nursery is paying for it. The children will be with their parents or guardians, so we didn't have to take care of them and just go wild with alcohol and the rides. On the day of the trip, Karen came along as usual in a tight dress, high heels, pungent perfume, and excessive amount of makeup. She looks like she's dressed for some sort of formal party, whilst the other parents are dressed in casual clothing preparing themselves for war. Remember, us staff members don't have to look after the kids on this trip, and it's the parents' and guardians' responsibility to do so. Before we left off for our trip, Karen noticed one of the children, a beautiful toddler whom I'll name Anna with blonde pigtails and bright blue eyes. Karen walked up to her mother whom she held hands with and said something quite disturbing to the point Anna's mother requested to us staff to help keep a distance from her. The exchange went as followed. Karen, that's a cute girl. Aw, thank you, she's our pride and joy. She has such beautiful crystal blue eyes and blonde hair. Her skin is so fair and pale. Yeah, she is beautiful. Anna's mom was a bit creeped out. Karen then says, I wish Mary looked like her. Aw, Mary is also a beautiful girl too. Karen scoffs. Yeah, right. If anything, I want a baby girl like yours. She looks closer at Anna and strokes her blonde hair. Anna's mother was creeped out by that and pulled Anna away from Karen before quickly heading to us for some help. With our help, we assigned Karen and Mary to sit at the very back of the bus whilst Anna's family sat in the front to keep some distance. Once we got to the theme park, everyone was let loose and the parents' guardians are in for a treat, whilst us staff and students went nuts on the rides and the alcohol, basically just having a blast. Until it was nearing late afternoon, we were all getting hungry, so we walked over to the food court. There we saw an unpleasant sight. Karen was drinking some beer at one of the far back tables talking on her phone whilst Mary was asleep in her buggy. We looked at this scene with disgust and walked over. The exchange went as followed after Karen noticed us and put down the phone. Oh, hello there. Hello, Karen. Enjoying the trip? Oh, geez, I wish. It's been so boring, tiring. My feet aches from walking around and it's so bloody hot. She was wearing a tight black dress and tall black heels. Of course she's gonna get tired. I see. Did you two enjoy any of the rides? Yes. Mary enjoys the merry-go-ride more than anything. I want to note that there was no merry-go-round in the theme park. I seated myself along with 2 other staff members with Karen to get to know her and see if she was okay because I can tell she was kinda tipsy with her skin all flushed. We kept an eye out for her and just kept talking and drinking until finally things took a turn for the worst. She talked about things we couldn't believe. She said, you know, I never wanted a child, but my husband adopted Mary from one of his African trips because according to him, he felt like he had to, and he sees her as his own flesh and blood. She scoffs as she drinks more. The husband is a journalist who travels a lot, so I say, that's nice of him. I'm sure Mary will grow up to be a healthy, beautiful girl. Karen scoffs again. Yeah, beautiful my ass. Back in America, beautiful white girls are always the most popular ones in high school and, she mumbles something quietly. Huh? Pardon? Her skin is so black. I wonder, if there was a bruise would anyone be able to see it? I look over at the other 2 staff members with worry, but they nodded as they quickly rushed over to Mary to check if she was okay and see if there was any signs of abuse whilst I kept Karen occupied with idle talk. Luckily, Mary didn't have any signs of abuse, but since Karen was a bit tipsy and tired, one of the staff members took Karen back to the bus to rest, whilst the bus driver kept a close eye on her. We took Mary after getting a drunk consent from Karen and took her on children rides that she'll enjoy, like the elephant ride, the airplane, the baby roller coaster, and more. We still had our fun until it was time to gather back at the meeting point around the evening. We quickly informed the manager what we had heard and expressed our concern, and the manager took it into consideration. Once we got back, apparently the manager contacted Karen's husband and informed him of what was been said and how she's been treating Mary, and also to pick up Karen since she was tipsy. Not sure what the husband did after learning all of that. The very next week, Karen came into the nursery quite early, which was unusual to pick up Mary. Anna and her mother was passing by her in the hallway to go home when suddenly Karen grabbed Anna by the arm and screamed, "I want this child, give her to me! What the hell is wrong with you? Let go!" All the staff members quickly rushed over to the scene to pull Karen away. Anna was crying in pain and fear with her mother grabbing her away from Karen and hugged her protectively. "I deserve a beautiful white child, give her to me! She's mine! I want a beautiful baby girl!" We restrained her with 3 men holding her down. We quickly contacted the police and her husband. Everyone was informed to leave early that day, including the cleaners, especially since I was a student. I left early because of the ruckus, but some stayed back to give a witness statement. Afterwards, according to one of the staff members, Karen's husband argued like hell with Karen in the nursery's office and basically threatened to divorce her, which got Karen crying. Karen's husband took Mary with Karen basically hugging him by the leg, begging him not to leave her, and that she was sorry. For a month, instead of Karen picking up Mary, it was either Mary's nanny or the husband. According to one of the nosy staff members, the husband had divorced Karen and got a restraining order against her because apparently when the husband went to visit Karen in jail, she tried to attack him for prioritizing Mary over her, and Anna's mom also pressed charges against her and got a restraining order. I'm not sure what happened to Karen afterwards, but I hope she never has children of her own. Also, Mary is being well taken care of by her loving father, who treats her like a treasure regardless of skin color, and thinks she's a beautiful baby girl. A lot of the staff members had a crush on him after this incident, LOL. I'm not sure if Mary was adopted before or after the father was in a relationship with Karen, but I knew that their relationship was only about 2 years and a bit. I'm pretty sure Karen was after the dad's money because he's fairly wealthy, not upper-class wealthy, but middle-class wealthy, and she often spent his money like water and used to brag about how much money she has thanks to her husband. I have to say, this story is crazy. I mean, this Karen woman sounds like a total mess, showing up to the nursery in tight dresses and caked in makeup, and then having the audacity to wish her daughter looked like another child. That's just messed up. And then on top of that, trying to kidnap the poor child Anna at the theme park? That's some next level crazy. I don't know if this story is 100% real, but it definitely feels like it could be. I mean, people can be really messed up sometimes, and Karen sounds like she's got some major issues. Either way, I'm glad the staff were able to intervene and protect Anna. That's some crazy stuff right there. But you know what's crazier, or shall I say stupider? This video on screen right now where a Karen demands a free yacht ride by trying to pass as the yacht owner's friend. What she doesn't realize is that OP is the owner. Op decides to play on and humiliate Karen in front of her friends. But you know what's crazier? Or shall I say, humiliating? The video on screen right now where a Karen thinks she can demand a free yacht ride by pretending to be the owner's friend. Little does she know she's talking to the actual owner. And he decides to mess with her and humiliate her in front of her friends. Hilarious. My mom doesn't want my dad to go to jail for stealing from me. My dad stole money off of my debit card, and I found out that he has been receiving food stamps in my name. I also wanted to find out if he had been getting anything else in my name, as some people online suggested it to me. I wanted to make sure he didn't try to get money for me on his taxes. I was talking to my mom about everything, and it seemed like she kept trying to make excuses for my dad. Like, well, maybe he felt like you owed him, and I would never have my dad locked up no matter what happened. She said that it took her years to call the police on my dad, even though he used to beat her. I got upset and ended the conversation. My aunt had said she was most concerned with my dad using my social security number to get credit or other things in my name because my dad gets a disability check, and I guess people on disability aren't supposed to be able to file taxes or claim people on their taxes. But my mom called my aunt and told her that she and my dad had been taking turns claiming me on their taxes for years. She said she claimed me last year, so she was pretty sure my dad had claimed me this year. She said my dad could go to prison over this, and she didn't want him to go to prison for claiming his child on his taxes. My mom told me that what my dad did with the food stamps was wrong, but that I left my dad's house without giving him anything, so maybe this was just his way of trying to get something for letting me stay in his house. She said that I had been rebelling against her by not even trying to go to church and search within my soul to see if I'm really gay or not. She said, even if I am really gay, then how could it hurt to repent and go to church and try to be straight for her? She said she actually talked to my dad and he told her that I had been rebellious and disrespectful to him, and that is why he kept getting in my face and screaming at me and insulting me. She said that my dad had never been like that with me before, and I need to think about what I did to contribute to that, and take responsibility for my part in everything. And I needed to think about how my dad felt knowing that his little girl was not the person he thought she was. She said my dad was almost in tears when they talked, and he is just as hurt as me, and he feels bad about the food stamps and taking money off of my card, and that my dad is really a good person deep down, and if he didn't have a temper, she would still be with him. The only thing he ever did wrong when they were together was hit her, and that he has never and would never hit me or my brother or my sister. Then she said that if I didn't press charges against my dad, that she and my dad would pay me when they received their income tax refunds. She said if my issue is that he stole from me, then him paying me back should settle everything. And if I want him to go to jail, then I am just being vengeful. And I need to think about what it will do to my brother and sister if their dad is in prison. She said I need to think about if it's worth it to hurt my brother and sister just to hurt my dad. I cried while I was talking to my mom. I cried for a long time afterwards. I found out a lot, but especially two things. One is that even though my mom talked so much crap about my dad when they split up, it seems like my mom still loves my dad. Even after she knew that he had been yelling at me, scaring me, had threatened me and stolen from me, apparently she still talked to him and she sympathized with him. My mom would not let me live with her because I'm gay, but if she thought my dad would never hit her again, she would be with him. The other thing I know now is that my mom cares about my dad a lot more than she cares about me. It's weird because up until now, that probably wouldn't have bothered me, but I didn't expect her to have more sympathy for my dad than me after knowing that my dad has threatened me and stolen from me. I can't imagine never having anything to do with my mom again, but right now, I don't want anything to do with her. I don't know if that's fair or rational, but that's how I feel. I don't know what to do. I think my dad should go to jail for what he did, but I don't want to hurt my brother and my sister, and I know they would be hurt if my dad went to jail, and it would hurt more knowing that I am the one who put him in jail. My aunt pointed out that I worked most of last year so I could file taxes myself unless my dad did claim me this year. My mom said they would pay me, but for one thing, how can I trust that, and I don't know if I want money they're trying to give me, just because my dad doesn't want to get in trouble for wronging me. The other thing is, I already contacted the police about him stealing the money off of my card and he is already being investigated for receiving food stamps in my name. My mom doesn't think he's going to go to jail for that, but I lived with my dad for around a month as an adult. That was the first time I've lived with him since him and my mom were together when I was a kid, and he was getting food stamps in my name like he was me. So I don't know if my mom knows something I don't, but I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble for that. And I found out about that accidentally. So it's not like I woke up one day with a vendetta against my dad. And what if my dad tries to steal from my brother and sister like this? What if I'm protecting them? Am I wrong for wanting my dad to go to jail? Should I let everything go since my mom said she and my dad will pay me back? I'm not going to have anything to do with my dad no matter what, but should I keep trying to work on my relationship with my mom? I did finally let my aunt know how bad I think I need a therapist, and she said we will definitely make sure that happens, so that's a good thing. Am I wrong? Am I a bad person in this situation? What should I do? You have clearly been through a lot, and you're struggling to take it all in. I can see why you would want to punish your dad. It is hard to forgive someone who has hurt you so much as well as taken advantage of you. However, I do believe your mother is right here when she says it will hurt your brother and sister more than it satisfies you seeing him in prison. You should take them up on the deal of them paying you back, and also make it clear to them that if you catch your dad out just one more time, even for the most minor thing, you will take legal action and press charges. I really like the idea of seeking therapy. There is no shame in talking to a professional about what happened to you, and this could actually help you get through it. I never expected babysitting to turn into a life-threatening situation, but that's exactly what happened when my neighbor accused me of kidnapping the child I was watching. The police were called, tensions were high, and I feared for my safety. Here's how it all went down. I'm a 21-year-old black babysitter who lives in a mostly white neighborhood. I've been babysitting for several years now, and I have always enjoyed spending time with children. In fact, I find it to be a rewarding experience to be able to care for and entertain them. Recently, I was babysitting a 6-year-old boy whose mother is a friend of mine. The boy was a delightful child, and we had a lot of fun playing together. We played board games, read books, and even did some arts and crafts. However, things took an unexpected turn when my next-door neighbor, a white woman in her 50s, came over to my friend's house to talk to me. She introduced herself and asked me who I was and what I was doing there. I explained to her that I was a babysitter looking after my friend's son. We'll call her Karen. Karen started asking me a lot of personal questions like where I was from and how I got the babysitting job. I tried to be polite and answer her questions, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was being condescending and judgmental. Things got even worse when Karen started questioning my ability to take care of the child. She asked me if I had ever babysat before, and if I knew how to change a diaper. I was offended by her assumptions, and started to feel uncomfortable in her presence. I was outside playing with the child, when Karen approached us. "What are you doing here?" she asked bluntly. I was taken aback by her question. "I'm his babysitter," I replied, trying to stay calm. Karen looked at me skeptically. "Are you sure about that?" she asked. "I've never seen a black babysitter in this neighborhood before. You look suspicious." I felt my blood boil at her words. "Excuse me?" I said, my voice rising. "I don't need to prove anything to you. I'm just doing my job." "Well, I'm not so sure about that," Karen said, crossing her arms. "I need to see some ID and get in touch with the child's mother. I don't want any funny business going on around here." I could feel my hands shaking with anger. "I don't have to show you anything," I said through gritted teeth. "And there's no funny business going on. I'm just taking care of a child, like any other babysitter." Karen didn't seem convinced. "I'm going to have to call the police if you don't cooperate," she said, reaching for her phone. I felt a surge of panic at her words. "Please don't do that," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm just trying to do my job. I have the child's mother's contact information if you need it." Karen hesitated for a moment before nodding. "All right," she said. "Let me see that information, and then we'll see." I fished out my phone and showed her the contact information for the child's mother. Karen seemed to relax a bit at this, but I could still feel her eyes on me as I gathered up the child's toys and headed inside. Karen looked at me with a sneer. "You know what?" she said. "I'm going to call the police. I don't think you're telling the truth about being the babysitter. I think you've kidnapped this child." I was horrified by her accusation. "What? No, that's ridiculous," I protested. Karen ignored me and dialed 911 on her phone. "Yes, hello? I need to report a kidnapping," she said. "There's a black woman here who claims to be the babysitter, but I don't believe her. She's trying to abduct this child." I watched in disbelief as Karen spun her lies to the dispatcher. "No, I don't know the child's mother," she said. "I've never seen this woman before in my life. Please hurry." I started to feel sick with fear as Karen hung up the phone. "You're in big trouble now," she said, grinning wickedly. "I hope you're ready to go to jail." As we waited for the police to arrive, Karen kept taunting me. "You don't belong in this neighborhood," she said. "I'll make sure you never babysit again. You're lucky I caught you before you could hurt that child." I was shaking with anger and fear as the police car pulled up. Two officers got out and approached us cautiously. "Ma'am, what seems to be the problem?" one of them asked Karen. "This woman claims to be the babysitter," Karen said, pointing at me. "But I don't believe her. I think she's kidnapped the child." The police turned to me. "Is that true?" one of them asked. "No, officer, it's not," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm the child's babysitter. I have text messages from the mother to prove it." The police asked to see my ID and the text messages, which I quickly produced. They examined them carefully before turning back to Karen. "Ma'am, we're going to have to call the child's mother to verify this," one of them said. Karen looked furious at being proven wrong. "Fine, call her," she spat. "But I want an apology when you're done." The police called the mother on their phone, and I could hear their conversation from where I was standing. "Hello, ma'am. This is Officer Johnson," one of them said. "We have your child here with a babysitter, and we need to verify her identity. Can you confirm that she's supposed to be watching him?" There was a brief pause before the mother answered. "Yes, that's correct," she said. "Her name is Sarah, and she's been watching my son for the past few hours." The police nodded and hung up the phone. "All right, ma'am. We've confirmed that this woman is the babysitter," one of them said to Karen. "You can go home now." Karen looked like she was about to protest, but the police cut her off. "And we're going to need to see some ID from you, ma'am," they said. "We'll also need to take a statement from you about what happened here today." Karen looked like she was about to explode with rage, but she didn't say anything as she handed over her ID. I watched as the police took down her information and interviewed her before finally sending her on her way. I was still shaking with fear and anger as the police turned to me. "We're sorry about all of this, ma'am," one of them said. "Is there anything we can do to help you?" I shook my head, still too shaken to speak. The police took down some information from me and promised to follow up if there were any further incidents. The police apologized to me for the inconvenience and left. I was still in shock from the whole ordeal and didn't know what to do next. Karen, however, continued to argue with me. "I can't believe they just let you off the hook like that," she said, shaking her head. "You should have been more forthcoming about your identity. You look too young to be a babysitter." I rolled my eyes. "I showed you my ID and the child's mother's contact information," I said. "What more do you want from me?" "You should have been more cooperative from the beginning," Karen replied, crossing her arms. "I knew something was off about you the moment I saw you." I sighed, feeling exhausted from the whole ordeal. Look, I don't know what else to say to you, I said. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable, but I was just doing my job. Karen snorted. Your job, huh? I don't believe for a second that you're a real babysitter. You probably just saw an opportunity to sneak into this neighborhood and steal something. I felt a surge of anger at her words. That's ridiculous, I said. I'm not a thief, and I'm not a kidnapper. I was just watching a child like any other babysitter. Karen didn't seem convinced. Well, I'm still not sure about you, she said. I think you need to leave this neighborhood and never come back. I shook my head in disbelief. I can't believe you're still saying this, I said. I did nothing wrong and you're treating me like a criminal. Karen shrugged. Better safe than sorry, she said, turning to leave. Just remember, I'm watching you. I watched as she walked away, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. I couldn't believe that someone could be so prejudiced and judgmental based on my race. It was a stark reminder of the challenges I faced as a black person living in a predominantly white neighborhood. I took a deep breath and gathered my things, ready to leave. As I walked away, I couldn't help but wonder if things would have been different if I were white. This story right here shows us how racism and prejudice can lead to some really messed up stuff. It's just so sad that we still gotta deal with this crap in modern times. Like, can you even imagine what it was like for the babysitter in that situation? That's just not right. Anyway, have you ever been discriminated against or dealt with prejudice? Let's talk about it in the comments. I thought I had found the one, but little did I know that our whirlwind romance would lead me to a nightmare I never saw coming. It all started when she suggested we move to my city, but what I didn't expect was that we would end up living with my female friend. Things quickly spiraled out of control, and my fiancé's jealousy and suspicion tore us apart. Here's how it all went down. My 28M fiancé, 25F, wants to end our relationship because she thinks I tricked her into us living with my female friend, 28F. We've been together for 6 months, and even though it seems fast, I know she's the one. She loves me just as much, but lately we've been having a problem. We were living in my car for the last 4 months because she was taking care of her grandfather with dementia and couldn't do it anymore. He was becoming increasingly combative and has been placed in a memory care facility. I offered to let her stay with me. My lease ended 4 months ago, and we've been living in my car while finding a new place. I'm from a city in the southern area of the state, and we were making regular trips down to visit my friends. I had a job, but I was unhappy and about to quit because I knew I could easily get back into my old job. A couple of weeks ago, she suggested that we move to my city because she had nothing holding her there, and she said she noticed I was unhappy in her city and seemed happier in mine. She's on disability, and I work, so we got to my city, and I told her that there's a female friend of mine who will let us stay with her for a few days. My fiancé and she don't know each other, except for a couple of brief meetings. It's been 2 weeks that we've been staying with my friend now, and my fiancé and I got into a very heated argument this morning because she blew up at me and said that she didn't sign up for this. She said that she feels like she's watching me have a life with another woman and wants to end the relationship and go back to her city. I've asked her to just hold on. I'm trying to get a few paychecks because I just started back at my new job as soon as we got here. She said no, that she's tired of watching me build a life with another woman. To be fair, I guess I can see why she feels like this. My friend is a single mom, and she has asked for my help a lot. So far, I've moved a chair for her, taken out the trash, cut her grass, opened jars, and watched her son. My fiancé and I were both raised in traditional values families, and she feels like my friend is asking too much of me. I feel like I'm just helping her out in exchange for a place to stay for a while. I've been paying her though. I think my fiancé is being ridiculous, but she said she's suspicious of my friend's intentions because of her asking me for help all the time. She said she's heard that if another woman is constantly needing a man's help, she's doing it with the intent to steal him. I've tried telling her that I'm not going anywhere, but she's mad because she said she feels like I'm putting myself in a situation where my feelings for my friend could become romantic. She said she feels like I don't care about her POV. She's made it clear that she doesn't exactly like my friend because she knows what she's up to and doesn't appreciate me just brushing it off. I did this so we'd have a roof over our heads, and honestly, because I feel like because I work, I deserve to have a place to rest. My fiancé said that it's been a couple of weeks and that it seems like I'm becoming complacent and don't want to leave, or will decide that I don't. She said if I decide to become roommates with my friend, she's definitely leaving. She acknowledged that it's her issue to deal with, but that she's been feeling jealous because she's been watching me do things for another woman and eating another woman's cooking. She hasn't had the chance to do any of that for me because of our situation, and she said that she's afraid that I will choose my friend over her because of this. She said she feels like my friend is too close, and she doesn't like it, and that she knows because she's a woman what other women get up to, and that I'm just ignoring her concerns. I just don't know what to do anymore because I want her here with me, but she seems very unhappy. I don't want her going back to her city because there's no one there for her. She has a lot of friends who have messed her over, and I just want her here with me, and I want us to have a life, but she seems very unhappy. I'm not really sure what to do to resolve this. TLDDR. I've been with my fiancé for 6 months, and for the last 2 weeks, we've been staying with a female friend of mine. We've been staying in our car for the last 4 months right before that. We were living in my fiancé's hometown, but now we're living in mine. And even though I've told her that we're looking for a place, she thinks that I'm becoming complacent and have no plans to move out of my friend's house. She also said that she thinks that my friend is too close to me because she's a single mother and is constantly asking for my help. She said that she wants to end the relationship because she's unhappy, and she feels like I'm not listening to her concerns. I don't want to lose her, but I'm not sure how to resolve this. ETA. My fiancé said that she feels like I tricked her into this because I did not discuss this with her. She said that she knew that we would be staying for a few days but not this long. She said that she now thinks that I discussed this with my female friend before moving down here, and did not tell her how long we would be staying and therefore took away her choices. She said that if she had ever known it was going to be this long, she would never have agreed to come with me. I didn't plan this behind her back, it just sort of happened, but that's what she thinks, and I can't change her mind. ETA. I should have clarified that my friend has made no attempt to get to know my girlfriend at all. We usually go into her room to talk about our day, and my girlfriend is never invited. I haven't said anything to her because I don't want us getting kicked out. Also, I'm aware that they don't know each other, and I just don't want to ruffle any feathers right now, so to speak. Also, I should have clarified that I have met a few of her friends, and they don't seem to be good people. Some of them cannot help her because they are in HUD housing. She is saying that she has a few friends that are willing to help her, and her sister and brother-in-law who live in another city are willing to help her. I don't want her to leave because I'm worried that I won't be able to help her if she needs me. I can admit that I have been neglecting her. I usually go right into my friend's room when I get back from work. Then I spend about an hour doing work stuff on the computer and go to sleep. My girlfriend said she understands that I'm working a lot, but that it's no excuse to neglect our relationship. She has said that maybe she's not ready for a relationship, but I'm reluctant to let her go. She has also said that she's thought maybe I'm not at a point where I should be having a relationship right now. She said that she doesn't feel like I have time for one. She said that it would be better for us to just split now since it's only been 6 months rather than months or years down the road. She has tried explaining to me that sometimes things just don't work out, but as I said, I'm reluctant to let her go. The fiancé ended up reading the post online and left an update so that you could hear their side of the story. Here's how it goes. Hi, I'm providing this update because I'm almost sure this is about my ex. The details are too fitting. Anyway, yes, I suggested we move down to his city. I said we could start looking for a place immediately. It's true that I agreed that we would live in the car and get a gym membership. He waited until we got down there to tell me we would be staying with a female friend of his for a few days. I was fine with that. A few days turned into 3 weeks. He completely neglected me and our relationship suffered. I get that he's adjusting to a new job, but that's no excuse. Every time his friend needed something, he would jump right up. He was so busy kissing her ass that he didn't have time for me. He expected me to clean her house. I refused to be a maid, especially when I wasn't even given a choice in being there. I presented the idea of us living apart for a while until he got more established. He wouldn't hear of it. He would follow me outside and prevent me from calling anyone, and even snatched my phone out of my hands every time I tried. He wouldn't even sleep unless I was with him because he was afraid of me sneaking off, as he put it. He kept saying he needed me there because he loves me and needed me to get a place. It was obvious after a while that he just wanted me there because he wouldn't be able to get a place without me. I'm sure he's probably just going to stay with her, but I don't care anymore. It's not my concern. It became clear to me that he didn't care what I wanted. He wanted to do whatever he wanted and just expected me to deal with it. He would accuse me of being rude to him and his friend. This, despite the fact that she completely ignored me. Even when I was standing right next to him, she would act like I wasn't there and only talk to him. He made no attempt to fix it. It also became clear to me that she expected him to act like dad to her son and act like a partner to her. He couldn't understand why I seemed jealous, even though the minute we arrived, he stopped touching me and started ignoring me. He started doing her favors and spending all his free time with her. Then when I brought it up, he said I was making baseless accusations. He tried to excuse them closing her bedroom door by saying her son closed it. Be that as it may, he should have immediately opened it. This happened twice, yet he couldn't understand why I didn't trust him. I waited until he calmed down by pretending everything was cool. Then when everyone went to sleep, I took his fob, got my stuff out of the car, and ordered an Uber. I went to a hotel and then got a bus ticket the next day. I'm staying with a friend in my hometown until I find a new place. Of course, he blew up my phone, so I just blocked him, but not before telling him it was over. He seems like a player anyway. Most of his friends are women, and he was also friends with his ex who he talked about constantly. He never shut up about his female friends, a few that he told me that he considered dating in the past. I just wasn't happy, and he refused to let me break up with him. He was showing a lot of red flags, and I was done. I've learned my lesson about moving in with someone I hardly know. I'm just glad to be away from him and his drama that he always accused me of creating. Thank you for reading. TLDR update to the situation where my ex lied to me to get me to his hometown, then trapped me with him in his female friend's house. He spent all his free time with her and stopped having sex with me, yet couldn't understand why I was jealous. He also expected me to clean her house despite paying her. He wouldn't let me leave despite me telling him several times that I wanted to break up. He just wanted what he wanted and expected me to deal with it. I escaped a few days ago and I'm back in my hometown. He blew up my phone, but I told him that it's over and blocked him. So, if this dude really had plans to leave in a few days and something came up, he would have told his fiancée. Even from his perspective, he was acting pretty controlling. He used the phrase reluctant to let her go too many times. Plus, the way he talked about his mistakes made it seem like they weren't a big deal. Okay, I know I made some small mistakes, like going straight to my friend's bedroom after work where my fiancé wasn't invited, and then staying for an hour, and then proceeding to do work right until bedtime so my fiancé never had any time with me. It's nice to hear the other side of the story and get the real scoop. The worst part is how he tried to make his fiancée seem like she was controlling, insecure, and misogynistic when she was totally chill. I hope she can steer clear of this guy forever. I thought I was being a considerate husband by quietly watching TV in the living room after coming home from a business trip. Little did I know I was only a few minutes away from catching my wife in the act with her lover. It wasn't until I received a text from her, meant for him, that I realized what was going on. What happened next? Here's how it all went down. Apparently, I missed my wife's lover by only a few minutes. I found out when she texted me accidentally instead of him. I went on a business trip this weekend and got home at 6:25 a.m. I didn't want to wake her and the kids, so I sat quietly in the living room watching TV. A few minutes later, I get a text from her. "Thanks for staying over, babe. I love sleeping next to you. Obviously, I wasn't here last night. I'm still on the couch and haven't responded. I think she went back to sleep and has no idea she accidentally texted me." Monday, 1. I had to go to work before confronting her. I think it was better anyway since it gave me time to think about what to say instead of rushing to anger. 2. I asked my assistant to go to the 7-Eleven next door and see if they have Shiner Bock. If they don't, I'll ask him to go as far as Publix. For science. Edit. We didn't find any. 3. She finally texted me at work and said that her girlfriend stayed over. I didn't respond. 3 p.m. ESC. Update. Tuesday 1. I left work last night and went to dinner with one of my work partners. 2. I didn't say a word to my wife when I came to bed. In the morning, I mentioned the text after I woke up. I told her I was surprised she would use that language with a girlfriend. 3. She broke down and admitted that she had a platonic girlfriend and a not-so-platonic ex-boyfriend over while I was away. 4. She admitted it wasn't the first time. 5. I calmly told her I would have to think about how I feel about the situation and let her know whether we should separate. Thanks, you guys. You prepared me for the worst, way in advance. It's nice to get the hive mind's opinion sometimes before jumping into a rash and complicated situation, or acting brash and angry as a reaction. I really appreciate everyone's comments and help figuring out the next steps. Relevant comment. I thought it could be innocent, but I've only heard her call one other person babe. Me. I also considered that she wants me to know, and her subconscious sabotaged her. There are a lot of suggestions in the comments about what he should do. Update. August 3rd, 2012. Title: Well guys, I'm a big dumb idiot. She knew I was home and just wanted me to come up. When have any of you misread a text message and almost ruined everything? Or at least, I really wish that's how it happened. It didn't. Turns out I was right when I posted this thread. I missed her longtime lover by just under 15 minutes. Kudos to someone in the comments for suggesting this clever title in the original thread. Edit. Before I moved out, I saw 2 lawyers and talked to an old frat buddy lawyer in my state who also happens to work at the state attorney's office. They all said that moving out won't hurt my case, but pulling all of my finances away from the family would. That's abandonment. Leaving an unsafe situation for the good of you or your children isn't abandonment. Darn it, right? I'm very sorry to abandon you guys without an update to this thread since Tuesday. A hazy fog of disbelief has clouded my world. Everything happy has disappeared. The quiet nuclear family life, 2 kids, a dog, a 4-bed home in the suburbs. Since Tuesday morning, I have learned this has happened before. She took him to an expensive hotel on the beach near our home to eat at the award-winning restaurant. I introduced her to this place on our anniversary last year. She revealed to me that she is interested in a swinger lifestyle, and she's already been to swinger clubs with him and the girlfriend. She wants to keep our marriage together but wants to keep the lover as well. The funny thing is, I'm not a jealous person. Neither am I controlling or demanding, or think that I can force someone to love only me. If she hadn't gone secret agent on me and tried to hide it, I would have considered it. I've moved out of the home and into my office until I can find a condo or apartment close to our primary home and my daughter's school. I've given my lead engineer all of our bank info so he can run the company in case I get held up with any problems. I wonder how many people are hoping it was just a mistake. Alas, life sometimes has a way of being as entirely predictable as you imagined it would. Relevant comment. More information about what went down. I wasn't going to move out originally. A lot happened since Tuesday night. During one of our discussions about this lover, things turned argumentative, then violent. She has a history of violence. Names were called, fists were thrown, and eventually objects were broken. She called the police and claimed she wanted me out. The police sided with me and said there was no evidence I abused her, so they can't ask me to leave my own home. My daughter watched, not able to go to bed while the police questioned Daddy. I left for a friend's house and got severely drunk on whiskey. The next morning I returned home and demanded she leave. She left for about 20 hours while I took care of the kids. She came back at night and locked herself in the bedroom and texted me that the kids need her and she can't abandon them. I told her there is no way to live with the violence and one of us had to leave. Sadly, I had to be that person. I have been going to the house every morning to wake up with them and at night to put them to bed. The kids, that is. I will rent a new place that can hold all of us and move there in the next few weeks. Then she can move wherever she can afford on her own. People criticize him for leaving, but most agree he did the right thing. Thank you. It's not like it was an easy decision to make, and I pray it doesn't bite me in the ass later. But you know what would be worse? Staying, getting in another fight, having the police come again, and having not so understanding police officers again. You know what would be worse than losing my house in the divorce? Going to jail because the police believed her story, screwing up my life, my company, my future, and the future of my kids, their family income, the money they need to eat, etc. Staying would be so much worse. The rest of it I can deal with. I am not an absentee father, and she'd have to make up evidence in court if she wanted to somehow prove that I was, whether or not I am sleeping in the marital home. Final update. Thank you to those following my cuckold nonfiction story. Sadly, this is true. For r/men's rights, I feel like I should keep a log to help other men when they find themselves in the same situation. 1,000 other people are facing the same situation I am today, right now. I couldn't spend another night in the bed she had other people in. I'm not a prude, but the lying, cheating, and stealing killed our marriage faster than a cancer eating away at your insides, and it hurt just as bad. I've left my career as a successful engineer. I put the company in the hands of my highest executive and told him I might not be back. I still offered to fly in to close any big sales. This season of my life is over. I've moved on, and it's time for some shake-it-up life-altering changes. I have $100,000 in open personal credit, $50,000 in open company credit, a paid-off car. It's a Lexus ISF, thanks for asking. Enough savings and residual income to not work for 6 months. 2 kids who depend on me in every way, financially and stability-wise. I've already done the typical bachelor stuff you forget about when you're married. Upgraded to an iPhone, purchased new wheels and speakers for my sports mid-level luxury sports car, upgraded my battle station, and took a vacation to Disneyland. OMG, really? I'm getting so much hate for this. Yes, I talk like a teenager. Is that a crime? I want a new life. Guys, what would you do? What did you do? Travel, buy stuff, work out until you looked like an Olympic athlete. Spill your guts, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me your midlife crisis, successes, and failures. Relevant comments. Why did you leave your job? I did what made a lot of money and loved every minute of it, but I realized I started liking the sales part of the business and not the execution as much. My true passion is elsewhere. I'm hoping to break into the special effects industry, practical effects, explosions, model building, etc. I've been around computers too long, and I just can't do it anymore. What I would give to have worked on a Nolan Batman flick, rigging lights for a SFX shot. Sigh. Well, I also have residuals from my company still coming in every 2 weeks. Not exactly as high as my take-home pay, but still enough to be okay. More about custody. We're splitting the kids realistically. For the moment, they live in the primary home, but many nights of the week they are here, and I put them to bed and wake up with them. Eventually, I will move back to the primary home or move the kids here permanently and let the ex take them several days out of the week. It was just a compromise, since I'm the one materially supporting the household, their food, clothes, gas, etc. What does this have to do with men's rights? From the other thread, there was a lot of debate about how I should handle the ex, kick her to the curb, versus a more empathetic approach, whether or not I should fight for full custody, etc. I'm trying to make it out alive, and hopefully document some of it for other people going through the same, infidelity, lying, separation, etc., from a man POV. Original poster continued to post sporadically up until about 3 years ago. He did leave one more comment in relation to his ex-wife. I was married to a woman who couldn't wait to die so she could get to heaven, because her dad was there. I never expected my lunch break to turn into a full-blown argument with a stranger, but when a woman accused me of murder for eating chicken, I knew things were about to get heated. Little did I know, it was only the beginning of a wild confrontation that would involve the police and a whole lot of drama. Here's how it all went down. I was at my favorite fast food restaurant, enjoying a meal after a long day at work. The place was pretty busy, but I managed to find a seat by the window. I was just about to dig into my chicken sandwich when I heard a woman's voice from behind me. "Excuse me, do you know how many chickens had to die for that meal?" she asked loudly. I turned around to see a woman in her mid-40s staring at me with a disapproving look. "You're a murderer," she continued. "I can't believe you would eat that in front of me." I was taken aback by her outburst. I didn't know this woman, and I certainly didn't appreciate being accused of murder. "I'm not a murderer," I said calmly. "I just wanted some fast food." "You're contributing to the suffering of animals," she retorted. "How can you live with yourself?" I sighed. I didn't really feel like getting into an argument with a stranger, especially one who seemed so passionate about her beliefs. But before I could say anything else, she dropped the bomb. "I'm calling the cops on you for your crime," she declared. "What crime?" I asked incredulously. "Murdering innocent animals," she shouted. I was speechless. I couldn't believe this was happening. The woman seemed convinced that I was some sort of monster, and I had no idea how to convince her otherwise. The Karen continued to berate me, going on about how eating meat was cruel and inhumane. I tried to ignore her, but she was making it difficult. "Why don't you try being a vegan?" she asked. "It's much healthier, and you won't have to contribute to the suffering of animals." I rolled my eyes. "I don't think I'm ready to give up meat just yet," I said. "That's because you're selfish," she spat. "You only care about your own pleasure, not the lives of innocent creatures." I felt my blood boil. Who was this woman to judge me? "Look, I don't have to justify my choices to you," I said firmly. "I'm allowed to eat whatever I want." "But you're hurting other beings in the process," she cried. I shook my head. "I don't see how that's my problem," I said. "I'm just trying to enjoy my meal." The Karen wasn't having any of it. She continued to argue with me, getting louder and more aggressive by the minute. I could feel myself getting angrier and angrier, but I didn't want to make a scene. "Can't you just leave me alone?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "No," she said. "I won't stop until you understand the cruelty of your actions." I was about to respond when the manager of the restaurant approached us. "Excuse me, is there a problem here?" she asked. The Karen turned to her, a smug look on her face. "Yes, this man is eating meat in front of me," she said. "I demand that you do something about it." The manager looked at me, then at the Karen. "I'm sorry, but we can't control what our customers choose to eat," she said. "If you have a problem with that, you'll have to take it up with someone else." The Karen was livid. "This is unacceptable," she shouted. "I demand justice for the animals that were killed for this man's meal." I rolled my eyes. This was getting ridiculous. "Can we just drop it?" I said, hoping to defuse the situation. But the Karen wasn't ready to give up. She continued to argue with the manager, insisting that I be punished for my crimes. I could feel a headache coming on. "I can't believe you're still defending yourself," she said, her voice rising. "You're a murderer, plain and simple." "I'm not a murderer," I shouted back. "I'm just trying to eat my food in peace." "But you're hurting innocent animals," she cried. "I'm not hurting anyone," I said firmly. "I'm just eating chicken." The Karen shook her head. "You don't get it, do you?" she said. "You're so blinded by your own selfish desires that you can't see the pain you're causing." "I'm not causing any pain," I said, feeling my anger rising. "I'm just living my life." "But at what cost?" she said. "At the cost of innocent lives. At the cost of the planet." I was about to respond when I saw something out of the corner of my eye. It was a police officer walking towards us with a stern expression on his face. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, addressing the Karen. "Is there a problem here?" "Yes," she said, turning to him. "This man is eating chicken in front of me. He's a murderer." The police officer looked at me, then at the Karen. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to calm down," he said. "Eating meat is not a crime." "But he's contributing to the suffering of animals," she protested. "I understand your concerns, ma'am," he said, "but causing a disturbance in a public place is not the way to address them. Now, if you'll come with me, I'd like to ask you a few questions." The Karen looked like she was about to protest, but the police officer's stern gaze seemed to cow her. With one last glare at me, she followed him out of the restaurant. I breathed a sigh of relief as the door closed behind them. Finally, I could enjoy my meal in peace. Just then, the manager of the restaurant approached me. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," she said sympathetically. "We don't usually get customers like that here." I shook my head. "I think I just need to go home and relax," I said. Wow, can't believe people like Karen actually exist in this world. Good on the protagonist for staying calm. I would have lost my temper a long time ago. Also, can we talk about how ridiculous it is to call the cops over someone eating chicken? I never expected my sister to ban my boyfriend of 5 years from her wedding, but that's exactly what she did. When I refused to walk down the aisle with her fiancé's creepy brother, she rescinded my bridesmaid status and threatened to call off the wedding if I brought him as my +1. Things escalated quickly, and before I knew it, I was involved in a violent altercation with my own sister. Here's how it all went down. My sister, F31, has informed me, F25, that I cannot attend her wedding with my boyfriend, M26, of 5 years. I met my boyfriend in college 7 years ago, and we started dating 5 years ago. He is super close and loving with my family. He was there at my niece's births, baptisms, Christmas, vacations, etc. We are extremely committed to each other for the long run but don't want to get married until we are financially stable and both our careers are where we want them to be. My sister has been with her fiancé for 2 years and engaged for 6 months. My sister is the type of girl who has dreamed of getting married since she was a little girl. It didn't matter who proposed, she just wanted to be married. I have never cared if I got married or not, as long as I have a good career and a happy relationship, I'm fine. In the beginning of her relationship, she tricked me into going on a double date with her fiancé and his brother. She had said it was dinner with her and a friend, and it was most definitely not. The brother kept making passes at me the whole time, and I told him I had a boyfriend, and the whole situation made me uncomfortable. At their engagement party, my boyfriend noticed that the brother wouldn't stop staring at me, and we tried our best to avoid him. Every time I have seen this guy, he has been weird towards me. My sister wanted me, my twin, fraternal, and 2 brothers in her wedding. The wedding is supposed to be next month in the beginning of May. My sister just told me that I'm going to be walking down the aisle with her fiancé's brother. I told her that he makes me uncomfortable, and I thought I would be walking with my own brother. Apparently, this is something her fiancé is insisting, and she wants to make him happy. Seems like a pretty weird thing to insist on, and I know it's some scheme between the 2 brothers. My other siblings also thought it was weird and voiced their objections to our sister. She got upset and said this is her wedding and she'll do what she wants. I told my boyfriend this and he was upset for me. He's confident enough in himself that he knows this guy would never be competition, but he knows how uncomfortable I am with this situation. The other day we had a family dinner at my mom's house. I took this as an opportunity to bring up the aisle situation with my mother around. My sister got extremely upset and started crying, saying I was trying to ruin her marriage. I was so confused, as was everyone else, and tried to explain that he makes me and my boyfriend extremely uncomfortable. She then said that I can't bring my boyfriend to her wedding anymore, and if I do, then I'm no longer a bridesmaid. She gave no reason why I can't bring him, and my siblings were just as upset considering they like my boyfriend a lot better than my sister's fiancé. I thought I would give her a few days to calm down and rethink, but she has not changed her mind. My 19-year-old brother's girlfriend is still invited to the wedding. My boyfriend is an incredible guy, and has been nothing but kind and generous to my sister. His feelings are hurt, but he still wants me to go to the wedding. I think my sister is being an unreasonable jerk, and I will be pretty angry at the wedding if my life partner is not there with me. Being her bridesmaid is something I can live without, so should I bring my boyfriend or go without him? Or should I demand that my boyfriend be allowed to come to her wedding and that she's being super unfair? I love my sister, but I don't understand why she's forcing some silly request by her creepy brother-in-law. I don't know what to do, and my family is no help either. Here's what a commenter said about the situation. She's upset because it seems like she basically offered you up to brother-in-law's creepy brother on a platter with the delusional idea of, oh, won't it be cute if you and my sister hooked up at my wedding, despite you already having your boyfriend, and you're ruining her vision and being a bridezilla about it. Call her bluff, and accept stepping down from being in the Marshall party regardless, but reiterate sternly that you are in no way, shape, or form playing along with their stupid matchmaking idea, and they need to stop. You're her sister, not some breeding mare to be promised at her or brother-in-law's whim. Their behavior is disgusting. The OP left the following update. I went to my parents' house with my brothers and told them about everything the brother-in-law has done that makes me super uncomfortable and how my sister is disrespecting my relationship. My dad was pretty pissed off about the date stunt that she pulled and is on my side. My mom, however, said that I need to try and resolve this with her because if I am not part of the wedding party, people will talk. I honestly couldn't care less about what extended family has to say. My mom called a family meeting and told my sister and my twin to come to the house. My dad asked her why I was no longer walking with my brother, to which she responded saying that it's what her fiancé wants, and she just wants to make him happy. I pressed the issue, asking why this is such a big deal for me to walk with him and that he's super weird, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to assault me. That really pissed her off, She started crying and yelling, saying a bunch of nonsense about how this is all she's ever wanted and we're trying to ruin her special day, blah blah blah. I was tired of the arguing and just straight up said I'll go to the wedding as a guest, then I'm leaving before the reception. My twin and younger brother took my side and said they don't want to be in the wedding party if I'm not. This made my sister lose her temper. She was screaming now, calling me a bunch of names that I can't say, a jerk, etc., and also calling my boyfriend names. I decided to leave and let my parents calm her down, but before I could walk out she ran at me and yanked my hair, still screaming. She wouldn't let go, so I yanked hers too, and she let go. She has extensions, and apparently I messed them up and ripped some hair out. She tried to grab me again, so I punched her in the face. I didn't mean to hit her, it was just my instant reaction to someone coming at me. So now she has a black eye, a cut on her cheek, and is missing some hair. She's absolutely livid because her bachelorette party is next week. My mom is mad at me, but my dad is not. My sister is now saying that she's going to press charges against me. Can she actually do that, or is she just trying to scare me? She's also pissed off because my other siblings won't be in the wedding. She told my mom if I apologize to her and agree to be in the wedding, she'll let me walk with my brother. I feel like that is BS, and she will still make me walk with the brother-in-law last minute. At this point, I feel like it's not worth the trouble, and I just don't want to go at all. My mom and dad want me to do what she asked because they're paying for the wedding and want all their kids there. My twin and younger brother said they'll do whatever I want to do, but I don't think I should be the reason they don't go. My boyfriend feels like he started all this drama when none of it is his fault. My sister believes I ruined her wedding. She ruined it herself, and I don't know what to do. So options are to go to the wedding as a guest, be in the wedding, or not go at all. My parents will be upset if I don't go, and I really don't want any more tension, but she disrespected me and my relationship. As soon as this wedding is over, I am going to limit my contact with her for a while. A top commenter said the following: I wouldn't go. And since she attacked you first, can't you claim self-defense? And what kind of toxic sister is she? She's utter human garbage to put you in such a position. Don't go to the wedding. She should have to suffer the consequences of her actions. The OP left a final update. The first part of this is written before the wedding, and the second part will be after the wedding. I've received some messages and read some comments about how I'm not responding to people or answering questions. I don't think I am required to answer anyone. I've heard tons of crazy theories and lots of people saying they hope my sister attacks me again, or I should get her arrested or scream rape at her wedding. While these are all interesting, this is unfortunately my real life and not a movie. I will try to clear up any questions in this post. Some people asked if race is an issue, and it's not. My family is French and Puerto Rican. My boyfriend is Italian and my sister's fiancé is just white. I don't know what his ethnicity is. There was also some confusion about my siblings. I am one of 5 kids. My twin is a girl. I guess that got misunderstood when I said 2 girls and 2 guys. I meant that besides my sister getting married, there were 4 of us walking down the aisle. I kept saying twin instead of sister so she wouldn't get confused with the one getting married. My sister is the second oldest. Also, don't think money is an issue either. My family's not rich, just middle class. The reason her wedding is getting paid for and not mine is because she didn't go to college and I did. They paid for the majority of my tuition, and I don't want a big fancy wedding either. Some people also asked why they don't revoke their money from her for this behavior, but the wedding has already been paid for a while, so there's no getting their money back. My sister did have a black eye still at her bachelorette party, and changed the venue to a darker place, and she wore lots of makeup. My twin, brothers, my boyfriend and I went to the club that night instead, and had a fabulous time, and got drunk. I heard from her friend that she was telling everyone she got hit with a car door and not my fist. My sister has always been a bit unhinged. When she was in high school, her and my twin used to fight all the time. After every breakup, my sister has broken down and shut down completely, feeling like her life is over. I've seen this since she was 12. I used to get in lots of arguments with my parents over them excusing her behavior, which ultimately made me decide to go to college across the country. During college, I rarely talked to her. When I came back home, she had matured and our relationship has been good for a while. She still occasionally has huge meltdowns over small things like this wedding. I sent my future brother-in-law a text asking why him and his brother are so obsessed with me, to which he didn't respond. My dad and I went down to his place, and he said my sister was the one who kept telling him that I was interested and would leave my boyfriend. So, I don't even know which one of them came up with this plan. My dad got mad and told him to leave me and my boyfriend alone, so I have told my sister to go to therapy for years, and she's refused. I tried to have my mom see if she can get her to go to family therapy with me, and she also refused but said she would talk with me and my mom. When her and her fiancé first started dating, she brought him to a work New Year's party, and he brought his brother, and I also attended. This was her first boyfriend that had shown any interest in getting married one day. I guess the brother had said he found me very attractive, and my sister instantly jumped the gun on that. She told him that I was not in a serious relationship. I had been with my boyfriend for 3 years, and he had a strong chance with me, and he's just my type. Wrong. So he's been under the impression that my boyfriend is just a placeholder, which is extremely not the case. He's just as delusional as my sister. This made no sense to me why she did this because my twin is single. We are fraternal, so we don't look the same and we're different heights with very different personalities, but she's still a very pretty girl and single. My sister has expressed some jealousy of my relationship over the years, so that could be a factor in her trying to break us up. She's always made comments about how she'll never have what I have with my boyfriend. About a month ago, right before her ultimatum, she found out she's pregnant. I didn't know. She thinks if she doesn't make this brother thing happen, then her fiancé will leave her, and being a single mom is more frightening for her than her family hating her. It's still early enough that she does have other options, but she's committed to this for some reason. This was an intense conversation, and we also talked about other things, so this was all I could get out of her before my patience ran out. I did kinda snap on her and said some things along the lines of, "Sorry you're so pathetic that you date any guy who looks at you and you still can't find a good relationship and you will be divorced before labor." Yes, it was a little mean, but I was very heated in the moment and wanted to say something worse. My boyfriend is very insistent about us going to the wedding despite all the nonsense my sister is putting him through. My boyfriend doesn't have close relationships with his siblings and has always loved being a part of this family. He wants me to maintain a relationship with mine so I don't regret it later. He's still hurt though that my sister has been going through these great lengths to get him out of the picture. I've tried to reassure him the best I can that everyone still loves him, and I always will. We're going for the ceremony as guests, and then leaving as soon as they say I do. My 2 brothers and fraternal twin sister are walking together as a trio. We took wedding pictures together at a park so our parents could have something of all of us, and we looked good. They haven't decided yet if they're staying for the whole wedding, but they're going to see how it goes. My older brother is staying the whole time so he can watch the brother-in-law and have some words with him. A lot of people said to have my boyfriend propose at her wedding, but I don't care enough to deliberately try and ruin her wedding. That will not make the situation better in the slightest, and I honestly don't ever want a public proposal, and I think that's super tacky. My boyfriend and I have just been enjoying our time and not worrying about any of this BS. I'm not worried about my sister attacking me again, and if she does, I can easily handle it. She can't fight at all, which is why I don't know why she messed around in the first place. Also, some people said isn't it illegal if sisters date brothers, but it is not at all. And I have cousins who are married to sisters. I'm not excusing the behavior, just saying that it's not illegal at all. After the wedding, the wedding, I showed up in my bridesmaid dress because I wasn't going to go and buy another one, and it's a very nice dress. My boyfriend and I tried to go in as late as we could to limit the number of family members asking me why I wasn't in the wedding. A few aunts and uncles asked, and I just said my sister lost her mind and to ask her. I tried to stay with some cousins who I told what happened and know how my sister is an occasional nut. The ones who knew that my boyfriend's invite was revoked were pissed considering some of their plus ones were just dates. We sat in the front row where my sister, her husband, and the brother could see me with my very serious, handsome, amazing, loving boyfriend. He held my hand the whole time and made sure I was okay. This wedding just confirmed that I don't want a big wedding. We can have a party at most. It was only once that the brother was staring at me, and I quickly shut that down by kissing my boyfriend. As soon as they all walked back down the aisle, I said my goodbyes to the people that deserved it, and we left. We went to a bar, danced, and had a good time. I'm glad I went to the wedding so I can say I told you so when this marriage ends in 6 months. I'm glad that delusional jerk saw me kissing the man I love because that will never be him. My twin had quite a few drinks at the wedding and was being very mouthy with my sister. I didn't ask her to say something, but she would have done that with or without booze. My younger brother told almost every family member that my sister went crazy on me, and that's why I wasn't at the reception. My older brother did talk to the brother-in-law, but I don't know what he said. I didn't ask many other questions, and this is just what they told me. I feel really bad for my sister, honestly. She baby-trapped herself with a subpar bottom feeder. That man has 0 qualities that would make me jump through all these hoops. He has the personality of an Adidas sandal. I wish my sister had more self-respect and raised her standards. I don't know much about their relationship and if he's abusive. I would like to think that she at least has that much respect for herself to not put up with that. Maybe they're in love, maybe he's using her. Who knows? This marriage may not last, but she's now attached to him for at least the next 18 years. While I sort of get her reasoning for not wanting to be a single mom, my brother is a single dad and doing just fine. I don't plan on talking to her for quite a while. I don't know how things turned out for them for not getting me with the brother. After prying, they still wouldn't give me clear answers, so I don't know how serious the husband actually is about his loser brother getting laid. Those brothers were either neglected or breastfed until they were teens. I was already going on vacation this summer with my boyfriend, but I might extend it now. Who knows? We may even get married in France for fun. Anyway, thanks for all the support. Sorry that this ending wasn't as dramatic as you all wanted it to be. I'm not expecting an apology. I honestly don't care anymore and just want to move on with my life and be happy without dealing with any more crazy behavior. I'm just glad that I haven't received any messages from my mother or brother-in-law, and that I have a great partner. If there are any questions I missed, feel free to let me know. A lot of your comments made me and my boyfriend laugh. A commenter asked the OP why she thought her sister didn't try to set up her twin with the creepy brother-in-law instead of her. The OP replied, "I'm not saying he should go for her. I'm saying that I don't know why my sister didn't try to set them up in the beginning instead of me." The OP also said, "I think my sister has expressed some jealousy of my relationship over the years, so that could be a factor in her trying to break us up. She's always made comments about how she'll never have what I have with my boyfriend. This helps explain why the sister was so insistent on setting up the OP with the creepy brother-in-law, despite knowing that the OP was in a committed relationship with her boyfriend." Wow, this is some wild stuff. Family drama at its finest. Honestly, I can't imagine going through something like this with my own siblings. It's sad to see how jealousy and insecurity can cause people to act in such irrational ways. At the end of the day, it's important to remember that family is family, but that doesn't mean you have to put up with toxic behavior. Props to the OP for standing up for herself and her relationship. If you enjoyed today's video, check out another video on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now or you're definitely the jerk.